You cannot enter the world of the jinn, but the jinn can enter your world. And Allah explicitly says this in the Quran, Surah A'raf, verse 27. إِنَّهُ يَرَاكُمْ هُوَ وَقَبِيلُهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا تَرَوْنَهُمْ. He, Iblis, and his tribes can see you from a place that you cannot see them. So, any jinn, if he or she wants to, can appear in front of any human, and that is a power that they have that we do not have. So, there is no original shape of the jinn, rather, the jinns are the real shapeshifters. The jinns can appear in any shape and fashion and form. They can also appear in the form of dead people. And we know this from the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ when he said, if you see me in a dream, then know that you have really seen me, because the shayateen cannot duplicate my form. What does that mean? They can duplicate anybody else's form. So this leads us to a very important point, and that is that we, and youngsters especially, pay attention to this. We don't believe in ghosts. We believe in jinns. We don't believe in ghosts. A human ghost, we don't believe in that. They will come back and haunt people. No, that doesn't happen. The soul of the human goes to the barzakh. The soul of the human does not and cannot return to alam ad-dunya. We also learn from the seerah that the jinns can come and pretend to be human. And humans won't even know that they're jinns. For example, of the incidents is the night of the assassination of the Prophet ﷺ. When the elite of the Quraysh gathered together and they decided finally, once and for all, we're going to assassinate the Prophet ﷺ. What happens? There was a knock on the door, and an old man from the areas of Najd, from one of the chieftains, he looked like the chieftains of one of the upper tribes, northern tribes, right? And he gave the story that they believed him to be one of the elite. And it turns out that this was Iblis himself. And he was the one who told them the plot of, why don't you send one man from every tribe to simultaneously attack, so that it's complete chaos and no one person can be blamed. You know the story of the hijrah, right? Where did it come from, Iblis? How did it get to their minds? He pretended to be an old man from that region, right? We also learn in the battle of Badr that Allah Azza wa Jal very explicitly says that Iblis came. So what happened? Shaitan pretended to be Suraqa and said, go forth and fight, you will be victorious, and I am a good friend to you. Inni jarul lakum. I'm not going to harm you guys. I'm going to be your protector, don't worry. So this gave them confidence and they left Mecca. And then فَلَمَّا تَرَأَتِ الْفِئَتَانِ. When Suraqa, quote unquote, Iblis now, when quote unquote Suraqa saw the fi'atan, saw the other tribe, and he saw the angel Jibreel come down, and he saw the malaika, he turned around and began to run away. And Abu Jahl stopped him and said, Suraqa, where are you going? You promised you're going to help. And he pushed him so hard that Abu Jahl basically flew in the air, and he goes, Inni akhafu Allah Rabbal Alameen. You guys aren't going to win, I'm scared of Allah. And he fled. So Allah mentions this story in the Quran. The point or the shahid is what? That Iblis or a shaitan, most likely it is the Iblis here, but Iblis comes on the day of Badr and runs away. So he comes in the form of a man. Also we have the famous hadith in Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim of Abu Huraira, that famous hadith of Abu Huraira, that the Prophet ﷺ appointed him to guard the treasure or the zakat that had come. And lo and behold, Abu Huraira said, I was almost about to go asleep when I heard somebody, slinking around and moving. And I woke up and I saw a poor beggar, taking some money and going away. I caught him. And I said, لَأَخُذَنَّكَ إِلَىٰ I'm going to take you to the Prophet. How dare you steal sadaqah money? How dare you? Have you no shame? So the man begged and pleaded, and he said, I have a large family. And he continued to keep on speaking until Abu Huraira said, I felt so sorry for the guy that I let him go. Right? The next morning, the Prophet ﷺ asked him, how was your visitor last night? So Jibreel informed him. Abu Huraira told him the story. So he said, he's going to come back again, don't worry. So he's going to come again. So Abu Huraira said, Wallahi, this time, khalas, I'm going to for sure take him to the Prophet. The next night he didn't sleep at all. He was awake. Lo and behold, he comes, jumps on him, grabs him, and shaitan's sweet tongue works its way. On, begging and pleading throughout the night until Abu Huraira felt so sorry, he actually let him go again. Because he doesn't know who it is. He still thinks it's a human being. Once again, the Prophet says to him, and once again he's going to come again. The third night, Abu Hurairah makes a promise that I am for sure now not going to let him go. Well, he tries, and Abu Hurairah is adamant, this time you're not going to convince me. Then he says, okay, what if I give you some advice, it will benefit you basically for as long as you live. It's going to be very beneficial advice for you. So he said, what is this? So he said, before you go to sleep, recite Ayatul Kursi. It will protect you from shaitan. So Abu Hurairah took this advice and let the man go. Now this time he had to pay a ransom. This was the hadith. So the Prophet ﷺ, when he heard the hadith, he said, "Sadaqaka wa huwa kadhub." He has told you one truth, but he is a habitual, perpetual liar. And then he said, didn't you realize who was your guest last night? He called him the guest. Because who was it? Because that was shaitan. Now this shows us that firstly read Ayatul Kursi before going to sleep, because straight from the devil's mouth, as they say. He himself has told us. And we don't care what he has said. More importantly, our Prophet ﷺ has said. He's spoken the truth. So the point of all of this is what? That the jinn can appear to the human when the jinn wants to appear in front of the human. And even our Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned this as well, that once he was praying in salah, and 3 times he said, "A'udhu billahi minka," "A'udhu billahi minka, a'udhu billahi minka." And he took a step back. And then he took another step back. And then he took another step back, saying, "A'udhu billahi minash shaitan," or "A'udhu billahi minka." And in one version, he's even pushing his hand. Then he took a step forward and he said, "Bismillahi al'anuka bila'natillah." In the name of Allah, I curse you with the curse of Allah. And he took another step forward, he took another step forward. So now he went back to where he was, and they could see him with his hand out like this. Then obviously when the salah is over, obviously they say, "Ya Rasulullah, what happened?" So he said, one of the ifrit of the jinn came to me and attempted to distract me during the salah. And that's why I said, "A'udhu billahi minka, a'udhu billahi minka, a'udhu billahi minka." Then I sought refuge in Allah, and then I said, "Bismillah al'anuka bila'natillah," and I held on to him by the collar, so much so that I could feel the coolness of his breath. And I thought, let me tie him up so that you can see him the next morning. Let me tie him up to one of the pillars. But then I remembered what my brother Sulaiman said to Allah, وَقَالَ رَبِّ هَبْ لِي مُلْكًا لَا يَنْبَغِي لِأَحَدٍ مِّن بَعْدِي. Give me a kingdom that nobody would ever have after me. And so I let the shaitan or the ifrit go. We also learn from one other hadith that they can come in other forms other than humans. That once a young man of the Sahaba was newly married, and he was about to go on an expedition, and so he comes to the Prophet ﷺ armed and ready to go, and he asks permission for one last visit to his beloved wife. Honeymoon phase, he wants to one time more be intimate before going in battle, so the Prophet ﷺ gives him that. Now the wife was not expecting him because he's gone for the battle, and he comes back and he sees her in her house clothes out at the door. And of course this is very big immodesty. Like you're in your house clothes and you're not wearing the proper clothes and you're outside, and he gets so enraged and incensed that he's almost about to strike her. Like, how dare you? And she says, before you do anything, see what's happening inside. So he goes inside, and there is a massive snake on their bed. There's a massive snake on their bed. And so he takes out his sword, and the two of them begin to battle. And the narrator of the hadith says, we don't know who killed the other the first, but both of them died. Then the Prophet ﷺ, when he heard the news, he said that there are a group of jinn that have accepted Islam in Medina. So if one of you comes across a snake, then give him, in one version, 3 days, and another version, 3 warnings before you kill. And then after that you may kill. Now the point here is that the jinn appeared in the form of a snake. And the hadith is in Sahih Muslim. Now this doesn't mean every snake is a jinn, obviously. What it does mean is that the jinn can appear in the form of certain animals. And when they choose animals for some reason that we do not know, many times they appear in the form of snakes. The point being, all of these hadith show what? That the jinns can appear in front of the humans in forms that the humans can see whenever they want to do so, not when the human wants them to do so.